right, hello everybody to just a really quick stream. Truly, I'm on the clock with Woman Sant back there. We have about an hour. Which, God, I don't even know if that's enough time to talk about all things Levia with this new set. There's been like endless discussion on the League of Levia. I mean, it would fill hours to go over everything that's been already brewed up in there. So shout out to the League. A bunch of people already in the chat. Hello, everyone. But truly, just wanted to hop on real quick and just talk to the people. These streams are going to be super impromptu, but it is cool that we get to hop on and do this and share some opinions. Just personal opinions, right? This is just what I think as a Levia player, as someone who was eagerly awaiting this set to be revealed so we could go ahead and talk about it, because this is just the start of 2026 and we've been feasting more than we have in, I mean, like years, truly years. So a lot to be happy about. And yeah, shout out everyone in the chat who wants to talk about Levia as well. So that's it, just discussion. No games. The games I'm bringing to you in paper, folks, and hopefully you like that too, because the paper stuff has been so much fun to put together. It's honestly a challenge with all the time frames of it all. Stream the calling. All right, time to record. Let's get an opponent. Let's make sure the game's good. Let's edit it all together, push it out by the next week. But it's honestly added like a lot of great cadence to, I guess, like my life and just being organized, getting content out. I really love those videos. So that's where gameplay is going to sit, right? We're not doing gameplay today. We're going to keep it focused on in-paper stuff, make it really exciting, show off flashy cards and all that. But then when it comes to discussion, maybe a impromptu stream here and there. And then, of course, I'll do my like seasonal Levia deck tech. And this time there's multiple decks to show off. I mean, there might be like a current claws build. There might be like a Hexagore build specifically. Obviously, Sage Levia, maybe a Claws Sage Levia, maybe a Hellhammer Sage Levia. Like, there's a bunch of things to experiment with. Those videos will come out in due time. Just gotta get to the world premiere in London first, get them cards in hand, and then bring it to you. So anyway, let's look at the screen here. And now you can see yourselves in chat as well. Also, shout out, I've literally just stolen like the February color scheme for the stream here. It's so nice. It's so nice. Shout out Phil, does a great job. All right, folks. So like I said, a little bit of a tight schedule on the day, but I'll answer questions as I see them. And you know, it's a whole community thing here, and we love that. So let's see. One question real quick. What are you thinking for when Claw leaves with KO? Okay, don't worry. We're going to get to that because I think that's a huge part of like what the support was honestly built around. I want to know if Hexagore is stalking. How do those new non-techs look? Well, hey, look. All right, a lot of people excited for Hexagore. Great. That is definitely where a lot of us are starting to brew. But let me tell you, it's going to be a little bit hard to put down Claws for the time being. Claws Levia is still best Levia at the moment, but we're getting darn close to a way to enjoy Hexagore. Okay, so not doing a whole review of Compendium. Shout out to like Techlo Foundry, for example. You want to see like a full rundown of the set. Tons of other people have done that. Plus, honestly, this day and age, I'm only honed in on like 2 heroes, Archaeo and Levia. And this ain't even an Archaeo stream. It's just going to be about Levia. So to touch on real quick on the Brute spoilers we saw, anything that's standing out for Levia in particular, well, you do have to think about Silver Age at this point. Silver Age Levia, hard to know where she's going to sit in the new like power scale of Silver Age that we need to figure out with Chain being gone, with all these new Compendium cards. But I do think she got a lot out of the generic Brute suite that is going to look really good for Silver Age. First and foremost, she already building before Compendium, it felt like the Brute equipment suite was pretty strong. I feel like now it kind of went crazy. Now it went absolutely nuts. And Buzzard Helm is a great start to kind of look at that. You're now getting 3 equipment value in theory if you hit the discards, which come on, we're Levia. We got more 6s now than normal to get the Buzzard Helm going, as well as graveyard fill. So your opponent, just by attacking maybe even 1 turn cycle, can actually stock you up on graveyard for more across the game than normal, because instead of blocking with a card from hand, you can get that while you're blocking with equipment here. You block with it again. I mean, at that point, yeah, like 2 cards without having to block from hand end up in graveyard. That's a quota that other Brutes don't have to care about, but Levia actually does. And that's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting. Predatory plating as well, I think very exciting for Silver Age, because if you go the Hellhammer route, then this is always active. You control a card with 6 in the arena. You do with Hellhammer. So you can just destroy this and start with a resource. Every other Brute can't lead with that decision. They'd have to actually play into having a 6 somewhere, then crack it. But Levia, difference with Hellhammer, and also a difference that's super relevant in how Levia cares about setting up her graveyard anyway, because you might need to instantly graveyard fill with a card from your equipment, then fuel your like Dread Screamer play or something. So it's really cool that that will actually work. So yeah, I'm excited, right? 2 block in the chest. We were running like Barkbone before, and generally that was only to hit 1 resource anyway. So this is good. This is good, whether you're on Hellhammer or not, I would say. The other 2 pieces are more conditional, like, yeah, you're going to run this if you care about Spell Void 3, I would imagine. I'm probably never running this. Hooves are just too good in Levia, even into like a AB matchup, I think, because Wizards tend to be squishier. So like you would just run Hooves anyway, so we don't get to run the funny AB piece. In terms of M's, I guess, for Constructed Levia, I'm just not looking at this card. I'm also not really looking at this card. You could, in theory, pretend this is like some cycler to make a thinner deck for yourself, get graveyard in a decent spot, like soft disruption with Intimidate. But if you start deck building with Levia these days, there are so many good cards. There are actually so many good cards. Like I'm building decks with like 90 plus, and it's hard to even start trimming. Of course, card quality is good. You need to figure out ratios, which is, I think, the real kicker in what makes a good Levia deck. We can all, at this point, we know card quality from our stuff of old. We can assume some card quality of the new stuff, but really it's about finding the ratios and maybe like what cores fit or don't fit. So I just don't think that this is a card we really care about unless there is this very streamlined, effective, like 57 card core that you care about to kind of turbo through. But that's just not where Levia is, I don't think. These other cards as well, like I'm not super keen on looking at for Levia. This one's cool, but once again, like we actually have more Go Again that we'd slot in before we even get here. So it's just one of those choices where like, I think our Go Again choices, we just have better ones, but it is a very cool card. Like I could see stretching it in possibly just because the rate is good. And like, you're not straying too far off of how Levia is paying for her turns anyway. Like a 2-cost 6 Go Again is something we're super accustomed to with Dread Screamer. It's just like, where does the intim come from? Which you could stretch, blue barragings, things like that, but I just don't think it's a super high priority. The last thing I want to talk about in the generic brute is something I've seen start to pop up in list just as like this filler 6 slot. Levia is in a place where these yellow 6s that cost to block 3, like she's always had better access to it anyway because she had Mark of the Beast, she had yellow hungering slaughter beast, so it felt like a cost curve, like a stat line that Levia could uniquely do. Now that's not so much the case. Generic brute has it in this. There's just this clause: play this only if you've pitched a card with 6 or more this turn. So of course that has to have happened before you play this, so you can't just 2-card 6. It would be in follow-up. And for that, to me, I don't think this card makes the cut per se, especially if we start looking at what is our chain ender for Leviathan going forward. And if that answer is Hexagore, then it's just not, it's just not going to be this card. So that's some quick thoughts on the brute stuff real quick. Actually, shout out one small thing with Savage Claw. There is a route you can go down with building Levia that I don't overwhelmingly love compared to how exciting some of the new brews are, but you can run Bloodied Oval plus like a one-handed weapon. You can do that as like a Levia core, and I'm not sure like why you would do that, but the plus side in being like Bloodied Oval being a blade break extra piece you could just like throw to the graveyard, that is kind of cool. The other one-handed weapon being, and this is talking post-clause of course, being like Ball Breaker could be quite cool if you want to still lean into what a draw discard package looks like for Levia. I mean, she's always had the great curves of why Ball Breaker even was a card in Levia before, where you go like Dread into Pulping into Ball Breaker. That's kind of cool, but only enabled on specific turns. Savage Claw would, I think, be an upgrade for that style of list, where most of what you can pitch away to this is going to make it just a 1-card 4, which in the early game battles with Levia, if this is the kind of list you're building, needs to maybe play a small hand, then build up a 5-hand, then play a small hand, build up a 5-hand. I could see this. I could see this being decent, but it's like the 5th version of Levia I care about trying. So, but just small shout out because this card's pretty good. I actually like it. So let's take a look here at the next batch of cards, and I want to catch up on chat a little bit. We're not going to do the Nathan Crawford stream where the entire chat is, or the entire stream is just talking to chat. Love you guys, but like I said, I'm on the clock here with Woman Sant. Let's see. Ethan, sorry I'm late, but I'm here. Okay, sweet. We got some people streaming in. I'm curious what Ethan will say about the M chest. Okay, we'll get there. I can't wait to talk about the D-React. Oh my god, me neither. I mean, so funny story about the D-React. So this is a rare, right? So all the commons and rares were being pushed live January 31st for like the entirety of the set, right? That's what we were going to do. It's what LSS was doing to ensure that there was enough time for people to build their Silver Age decks for the calling attached to the world premiere, right? Released an entire week early. Everyone can go ahead, start building. It also made for a really exciting weekend where people were brewing. My weekend was just nuts, trying to catch in on what everyone's saying, what everyone's writing about. That was really fun to try to stay caught up to date with. But anyway, this card had already had a lot of people perked up because it has Levia obviously in the art. So in the trailer for Compendium itself, the Levia community was going crazy because this art was used in the pen trailer. And so, oh my god, the entire League server is like, what the? There's a Levia card! Like, obviously a Levia card because she's in the art, right? And I didn't know what the card was. I'm sitting there, like, same as you guys, oh my god, this is going to be crazy. Then, of course, a little bit of, like, foresight. I'm, like, we're getting ready for spoiler season, and I noticed, wait a second, this card's just a rare? No way, like, it's gonna get mass dumped? Oh, no. This is so much more exciting. This is so insanely exciting. It's Levia stamped on the card. It's like one of the coolest cards ever. Like, I love this thing. So we got some special permission to give it to you even one day early, even one day early to hype cycle this beautiful card in and of itself, because my God, I love this card. I love this card. So that's my treat to you. That's like, look, LSS cares about Levia. Proof's right there. Proof is right there. You can't say otherwise ever again anymore. All right. Special treatment. Special treatment. But anyway, this next block of cards, quite exciting, but a little bit head scratching, I think, for how obviously they're upgrades. Unlike the Silver Age stuff where you're like, yeah, number good, number go in deck. Now you have to start jumping through a little bit of hoops, but seasoned Levia players, I think, are very right to be excited about the next batch of cards. First one being an actual Shadow Brute, Pound of Flesh. I love the card art for this, by the way. Like, just so like this whole, obviously Levia's arm holding the head. If you've seen on the Patreon, the next token, Gold Kiss Rum, is already been commissioned. It's finished, just working out the printing logistics. And it's basically the other half of this art, where this is one Levia arm holding a head, and now the Gold Kiss Rum is the other Levia arm holding the Gold Kiss Rum. So you can see the picture. It's on the Discord, it's on the Patreon. But just, I love the idea of now, like, the full picture. Decapitated head in one arm, Gold Kiss Rum in the other. Anyway, this card itself, stat-wise, 0, 3 block, non-attack, blue for us. Each hero banishes a card from their hand. Each hero who didn't banish a card with 6 or more this way loses 1 life. Go again. Now, this card is like, okay, my initial reaction to this card was, oh my God, broken. But having thought about it a little bit more and being like a little bit more realistic, I don't think this card is broken, but I absolutely love what this card does for Levia. Of course, you initially think, wow, this is sick. I'll just banish Shadowpede. I'll just banish like Deep Rooted Evil. Yeah, like this is the coolest thing ever. Disruption, and I like gain an intellect. But that's not what this card is always going to do. And it's even riskier to try to always make it do that by putting this in your arsenal, which is, it's not really much of an enabler. Like it lets you spend more cards to actually be actively contributing to the turn cycle, but it's, you can't really call it an enabler in that sense. So I think you step back from like the ceiling of this card, where it does seem broken, on average, it's just decent. It's a flexible card. I like that it's giving you a way in these larger hands to proactively play the game with your opponent, not just play the game with yourself. Because that was kind of the issue with a lot of these 0-cost slots in Levia prior, was it's probably like a barraging beatdown, right? It's probably like a maybe even Smell Fear, maybe Smashback Ailhorn, right? These were cards that effectively played for your side of the board rather than it played into the opponent, because you just cared about, oh, thank God, like I can burn this card for graveyard fill. This card is an extra step because you do need to spend an additional card in hand to actually get there. But it does do something, like no questions asked, to your opponent's side as well. They must go minus a card. If they don't banish a 6, which in a lot of matchups they can't, they're going to lose another life. And so if you think about the scaling power of a hand, like, taking a card away from a Syndra who is proactively using their entire hand, not really looking to block, that card is probably worth like a little bit more than 3, something closer to 4, and they're going to lose another life for it. So it's hard to say the exact math on like what that's worth, but that's great. Like that's proactively making your opponent scale down their hand, where as a floor for you, you've turned off Blood Debt. It does have Go Again, so you can swing into Hexagore now without needing like a true attack as the first Go Again source, making sure that Blood Debt's off. If you do hit the Deep Rooted Evil, if you hit the Shadow Realm or Shadowpede with Howl, right? That's kind of the ceiling. You can go 2 routes with this, like the ceiling being Slithering Shadowpede with a like Vigor token or maybe Tunic, which does mean you probably want to start siding in Tunic for the super grindy matchups. But in a more standard game, you probably can't count on the Vigor. You probably can't count on the Tunic, but you can count on the Howl, which is something you're absolutely running in Levia for these grindier matchups. Now, Pound of Flesh, you banish Slitherpede, you banish a card from them, they lose 1, let's pretend, you don't, and now with a singular blue, you play the Howl, you play the Shadowpede back. So that effectively is a 3-card hand out of you. The Pound of Flesh, a blue, and a Slithering Shadowpede. 3-card hand for you to throw 9 and have taken a card from them plus another -1 in theory. That's effectively another 3-card, like 12 to 13. And it's a bit of a combo. You need to have this specific Pound of Flesh. You need this specific Shadowpede, but like, it's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to do. So this card, yeah, it's always useful. It's just always going to be useful. You can do cutesy things as well with, if you don't have a card left anymore, if you do have like another Vigor Tunic play lined up, for example, then like a Dread Screamer, pitching a blue, 2 floating, you can just Pound of Flesh. They're now minus a card. And this was effectively like what Barraging Beatdown was doing anyway for you. And then like swing Hexagore type of things. So it's good. It's good. It's not exactly going to feel the same as like what Barraging Beatdown was doing for your list, where you could just always burn these blue 0 costs, but it's playable. It's interesting. It has ceilings, which Levia loves her ceilings. It's got, floors that are acceptable. Okay, I will 2-card turn off Blood Debt, and I will take you down a card. Pass. Like that's sometimes fine. These ways to turn off Blood Debt in your blue base that aren't just all the same. Like if your blue base is spanned with Unworldlies or Convulsions, that adds another layer of, well, now every card that turns off Blood Debt needs to banish 3, and that's not what this card's doing. So I like it. I like it. Obviously going into decks, it's going to have some games where it looks amazing. It's going to have some games where it's just a blue that blocks 3 that like you maybe think about playing and then figure your hand probably does something else a little bit better. But I don't really mind Levia cards designed in that way. I think that's really interesting for this hero. Like if you go back and look at the spoiler video game with Yasker on Levia versus Evan Herndon on RKO, the emotions that Yasker goes through, where it's just a roller coaster from his side, where he draws up one hand, oh no, this deck sucks, bro. And he draws the next hand, oh my god, this deck's broken. I should have played Levia in the Calling. Oh no, what do I do, Ethan? To, oh my god, this is bust 3-card 18, how you doing? Like, the roller coaster of Levia is really exciting. This card plays exactly into that. And I think will be more rewarding to the Levia players who have like really thought about every type of use case for this card, instead of just like looking at the hand, deciding if it's good. They can actively think about, oh, okay, I'm in a spot of a game where Pound of Flesh does this, that, whatever. And then if you draw it or don't, still informs some slight changes you can make for like the next turn cycle, because this card is like objectively unique in what it is doing for your Levia game at large, which is so cool. Like I really love that type of card. So A+. Honestly, look, all that is to say A+. A+ on this card. And I love the art, like I said. But man, you could probably go on for like another hour about this card. It is one of those. It's so interesting. I really appreciate that. It is so interesting. Even being able to use this to banish a Ghostly or a Howl in hand can be very good depending on your situation. Absolutely. This is another way to, sure, that's one thing we didn't even talk about. This is a way to just proactively get your banished cards, your like recursion banished cards basically, where they need to go. You're going to lose the 1 life in theory, but like get your tome gone. If it's a matchup where like you just got to get tome gone, I'm not saying tome is a card you really want to play, but the Levia decks that play it really want it gone. Well, now you can just burn it, and it's right where you need it to be, instead of drawing it up in hand and realizing, man, I've got to get through something. Like I got to roll scabs for this now. I can't block with this card now. Like, do I pitch it away again so I can just like find it with a call instead or shadow instead? This card is unique. It's offering unique plays into Levia mechanics, which, boom, I love that. I love that. These cards have been revealed, so let me just refresh, because the plan was to talk about all of the stuff. I wanted to wait to do a stream just because the cards are out. We might have to go back to, oh, there they go. Okay, boom. Not our card, but this one's kind of spicy. The puzzle is amazing. Absolutely agree, Tomet. Absolutely agree. That's what we want out of Levia. The fact that like a blue in our deck is part of the puzzle now, very exciting. Very exciting. This card, Vestige of Flagellation. This is another card. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh my god, this is so sick. Like, you can play this into RKO, but you'll still be lower life. It doesn't really do anything for like playing into the whole reviled plan of like they are going to be higher because now Sigil just like burns you. So as immediate playability, that's like the only matchup where I tried to instantly make a connection and it just doesn't work because you're getting lower anyway. So for now, not that interesting, but it could be. Like the effect here, incredibly unique, incredibly unique. And for Levia, as compared to Vinset, we actually get a lot of use out of Vigor tokens because we have wonky cost curves. Like we have opportunities to just like pay a random 1 into like a Rex, pay a random 2 into a Howl, that Vinset doesn't really get out of Vigor tokens. Like her turns are pretty set in either being like pitchless or like she was going to pitch into, I guess like Envelope or like, God, do they even run costed cards anymore? I'm like pretty out of the loop on Vinset to be honest. But this card is more unique in Levia because Vigor tokens and her weird cost curves just are part of her game plan. Her like active game plan is I just can't always use resources cleanly. Let me give myself options. Options being Rex, options being Howl, options being Deeper Evil. And so this is interesting for that. Is it good right now? Not really. Not really. Emberforged Gauntlet. This one is good. Good in Silver Age, of course, because we just get 3 block in arms now. That is just amazing. For CC, I don't think it's amazing. I've seen some people try to, pitch it as like, oh, we can like turbo Hexagore, but that's not like I don't want to call that idea bad, but that is a bad idea. That's a bad idea. You can, like, if you want to turbo Hexagore, guess what? You could have been doing that ages ago with just like a full darkness equip. Oh, boom! Get to 4 blood debt. Boom. Let's block with darkness equip. Boom! We're done. We're turbo Hexagore. Was it good before? Absolutely not. It is not better now. And we already have arm pieces that are just so much higher value, especially in a Hexagore list with Tyrannical Rex. Oh my God, so much higher value than, blocking 3 and getting 1 more blood debt for Rex. It's a bad idea, but I appreciate the eagerness to swing Hexagore for 6 and not take damage. I appreciate the eagerness. Let's see. Next one. This is the most recent spoiler. And shout out, I love the spoiler video for this from Push the Point. Always metal, always metal. I love the art from this one as well. Like just sick. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. But it's cool. It's cool. Is it a Levia card? Good for Sage though? Yes, definitely good for Sage. I did say that first. Is it a Levia card? I don't think so, like at all. I was trying to think, like there is a theoretical Levia build, maybe closer to like the olden days where there was that Levia build that just played Club forever. And then at a certain point, you just like played your Endless Maws because, 2 card 9s were what you needed to close, or like Hungering Slaughter Beast with a pummel. That was like the early versions of Club Levia. It eventually became a version where you just play like 1 Blood Debt card, like 1 Boneyard, or like, 1 Hungering Slaughter Beast, something like that. If you want to play a deck like that, which I don't think you should play a deck like that, but if you wanted to play a deck like that, then this is a way to like maybe set yourself up better to splash more Blood Debt cards and not have to deal with them in Banished, because you could like force it where you run the there's a 2-cost shadow card that says like target a card in your Banished them, like you can play it this turn. It gets like plus something towards Light Heroes. Like you can play that card to make sure you could get something out of Banish. You could play this card to make sure that you could get your Blood Debt out of your graveyard so that you don't banish them. It'd be like a crazy ton of hoops to basically play a Levia game with like, let's say, a playset of the most broken Blood Debt cards and then like never worry about really dealing with Blood Debt. I don't think that's good. Like just right now, doesn't seem, oh, Spew Shadow is the name of the card. But no, right now it just doesn't seem good. You're like actively replacing a 6, you would think. Maybe like a Diabolic, maybe like a Blue Dread Screamer, let's say. But most of the time a 6 with a non-6. And there's a very specific point in the game where maybe that will never affect you again. Maybe your graveyard is in a state where like you can kind of hit the recursion loop and it doesn't matter that you will have like left this because your next turn cycle guaranteed is just like Howl for the third, this for the second, and a 6 that was already there from the last banish. And you can just kind of like get back into that loop, and it doesn't matter that you ever really swap the 6 for a miss. But still, man, I don't know. I don't know. Not too into this at the moment, but it's got decent stats that might make it eventually a Levia playable. Block 3, Blood Debt, 0 cost, like yellow. It's interesting, eventually. Now we get to the good stuff. Oh, God, this card. Oh, this card is so good. It's so, yeah, so just freakishly strong. I've heard people call it a 1-card 8. That's not ever true. Maybe the second one you could call a 1-card 8. But the first one at best is a 1-card 7 because you have to take a damage to flip to consumed and then play it. But let's say like you literally see one of these in an aggro game and you do get the perfect flip, 14 to 13. This is a 1-card 7. This is a 1-card 7. Like in that situation, it's instantly a 1-card 7. You see a second one, that card was a 1-card 8. You see a third one, that was a 1-card 8. And you're probably not seeing that many because, you know, aggro game, it's gonna push pretty fast. But even in that second phase of the game where your blood debt from consumed is where you're outvaluing your opponent, just think about it. If you're drawing up the rest of your engulfings, even in that second phase of the game, this is something uniquely new to that end game where your opponent could just like count the expected block value in your hand. They really can't anymore because now you get to run freaking 4 defense, like 4 defense reactions. This could be in your arsenal, you know? You could draw this up in a hand late in the game where all you need to do is hang on to like 1 card to throw your freaking writhing and like close. Like the one extra stat actually makes so much difference in Levia. You got to play with this card. You have to play with this card to see the difference. But stats have always made Levia feel broken. That's what she does, right? She's a stat machine. She just has these, like, she has mini games. She's got hoops to be a consistent stat machine. But once you're crazy. You are just crazy. If you're a consistent stat machine, that is what you are. You're like the best stats in the game because you don't run out. You do not run out of steam. You play Levia deck well. You do not run out of steam. And now even in a short game, you're going to feel that kind of Levia stat impact, which you didn't always before, to be clear. Like she had pitfalls in aggro games where you just didn't feel like you had enough time to get Levia rate going because it was only counted on offensive turn cycles. Now you have Levia rates going on defensive turn cycles. That's crazy. That is actually crazy. You do wish this said it could be played from banish? Well, it does. You got to play the Levia game, bro. You got to play into consumed, man. You can't just have everything. If this said you could play it regardless, then Vincent is broken, Chain is broken. Instead, Levia is broken because we're going to play into this card and it's going to be really damn good. Man, I don't want those other heroes to be broken. Play the Levia game. This card is broken. It's so good, man. This card is so good. And it speaks to Levia deck building in the past could have some like really like awkward sideboard choices where you're like, well, the core is so strong when I'm swapping things around. Like, what am I really changing? Well, now in a way, we have pretty clear swaps on like some of our, what I would consider core, and then like some cards that aren't our core, but are obviously like really good in one half of the matchup or not, whether like you're racing or not. And I actually appreciate that this card isn't good 100% of the time because it is very clearly a card that you can like swap out for something a little bit better for like a fatigue matchup. You don't care about this into like a Pleiades, for example. You care about it in a lot of other matchups, but now you have a very clear signal. I don't really want this card. That's okay. Let's swap a yellow for like Shade and Death Hydra, like whatever it is, something like this. And I actually appreciate that out of Levia decks because in the past, like at a certain point, man, sometimes building sideboards was so annoying. I would just have like 6 cards I take in and out. Is it a pulping matchup? These go in. If it's not, I take them out. Now we get a little bit more of these like guidelines on, okay, it's not an Engulfing Shadows matchup. Let's put something else there, but it's a little bit more flexible in that where it's not like these packages per se. It's just like a play set of cards where very obviously we have other tools we can put in this slot instead if it is grindier. Like Shade and Death Hydra. I don't know about 3 Shade and Death Hydras, but like for an example, they could swap in and out. I like that. Then we've got Depths of Despair, which this one is closer to the whole idea of like turboing Hexagore and like what that does for us beneficially than Emberforge Gauntlet. Like this card is more interesting in that vein because you have to start to think about, if I am a Hexagore deck, then how do I beat aggro? Like how do I win that race? And you can change enough in your like swap board, I would say, to be like a Meataxe deck. You could go that route, but we're gonna see that I think playing into Hexagore is actually going to be playing into 6 matters, because we have a new blue 6 effectively, and we want that to actually matter for our deck, not just be like, cool, we can put a blue 6 in, but like, what does that really do? You're gonna like block with it, and that's the benefit you're getting, is that I have a 2-block blue 6. Like that's not enough of a benefit, but you can build 6 benefits into your deck. Energetic Impact, maybe even Cast Bones, Sirens, or what is it? Sinu's Song of Sinu, Rex, obviously. Like there are other things you can do, maybe even draw discard shells as well, to play into 6 counts. And if you keep Hexagore, then if that's enough of a reason to say, okay, I can't really swap into Meataxe, I'm just a Hexagore deck, then what can you do to make a Hexagore deck better into aggro, better into the race, better to get to 6 blood debt? And still, I would say don't go this route yet. But where I would look is Depths of Despair. This is the kind of card where if you are in a race, it checks a lot more boxes for getting 6 to Hexagore. You're getting 3 out of it. It still counts as a 6 for the other aspects of your deck that you're likely building around because your blue base is more 6 dense. And it's going to instantly banish, which gets you closer to 6 as well. So I think it's cool. Like, sideboard piece, I think, into matchups where you actually just need to race, this gets you to Hexagore pretty quick. And even to the point where, like, you might run the red. It could be crazy. Could be crazy. But you could just have like a suite of cards that say, like, I get to Hexagore 2 turns faster, and it's this package. And that's pretty interesting. We've not really had that. Like, one thing I did in the past to just make every card say blood debt, so that when you got your first banish going, Hexagore was already halfway there, was swap the entire blue base to like Chains of Mephetis, Vile Inquisition, because these are blue blood debt 3 blocks, regardless of you really wanting to play them. They were just blue blood debt 3 blocks that you could, on your first banish of the game, just be halfway to Hexagore. And now, maybe you don't need to do that. Maybe this, like splashing this, is decent enough. Maybe it is just one extra step to get you there, and then the Emberforge Gauntlets do exist for that, but I wouldn't go there first, because in a race, for example, like Apex should be more value than Emberforge. But, it's good. It's good. I like the optionality. I think we're at the point where we can see Doomsday turn 4 and be online and play it. That is a great point, Raz. Thank you for bringing that up. Doomsday, still one of the freaking craziest cards in the game. Just in the game, let's say. And for Levia specifically, it's overwhelming because you're almost always running Husk into like these, okay, you're not always running Husk into the race matchups, but you do run it enough. If you already are starting with equipment plus on the board, effectively because of Husk, and then you actually resolve Doomsday, that is insurmountable. Almost like by the numbers alone, you have won the game by just having Husk on board to keep you that many more points above your opponent on armor. And then you have that many more effective like points on armor because Blasphemfet is another 6 life. Like, it's crazy. Husk alone isn't quite as crazy as it once was, but like Husk plus Doomsday is crazy. So to be able to more reliably cast Doomsday, that's a good buff too. That's a very solid buff too, just in general. Because of course the number 6, if we're building around the number 6 for Hexagore, exact same for Doomsday. Good shout out. These other cards, Fasting Carcass, in all colors, they're interesting. I actually think the blue one makes a different version of Levia a little bit more excited right now, and that is Claw Levia. If I was looking into what immediately makes it in for just like the Blood Rush deck, which is what Claws is right now, Engulfing's probably like a 2 of, maybe 3 of, if the game is really going to be that fast, like into a Syndra or a Katsu, for example. Then, like, obviously this card is good. Is it perfect for just throw 3 of in a Blood Rush deck? Not perfect. Not perfect, but still going to make the cut in some count. But what card would make the cut for me in a Claws deck right now is actually Blue Fasting Carcass. Because there's this weird game state with the Claws deck where you can actually just be out of enablers for Claws and be very close on actually closing the game if you like flipped Consumed a little bit aggressively. Like in the past, we would just proactively run maybe like Shade and Death Hydra, Convulsions, and try to set up Terra Lymphalum as well, right? And try to set up, okay, like we had Blood Rush for burst and we have like this for close. At the moment, I think most Claws lists have kind of given up on slotting a finisher in realistically, and you just play for like, you know, one of your Blood Rushes being 4 wide, not 3 wide, which Levia can do like half the time, and that's good enough. Fasting Carcass lets you turn blue Deadwoods, regardless of like either half, whether this is banished or whether the Deadwood is banished. It lets you turn the blue Deadwoods into Claw enablers, and I really like that, actually, because that lets you get a 4 wide. That lets you... Oh, okay, I got a note from Woman Sant. Thank you. I'm not going to pull the Trump and just read it on stream. And that's interesting because this card in like I flipped pretty aggressively. My opponent's trying to block me out. Now you have another way to go 4 wide that has like a little bit of extra like intellect attached to it, whether it's the blue Deadwood, like I said, or this being banished. It's still not a great rate, but it just says, hey, I've got this draw discard effect in my blue base that now turns on my Claws, rather than like being locked out and needing to roll scabs. So I actually like it. I like it for that because it checks a lot of boxes. Like you can just burn this early as well. Like you can just, oh, it's turn 0. Okay, I'll just play this. Pass. Like that is doing a lot of what like the barraging beatdown was doing. Smashback Ailhorn. I know Michael famously now in the show match, Michael famously said 1 card 1 when he played Smashback Ailhorn. And that actually, that took me back a little bit because he was damn right. He played like 2 Smashbacks and they were both just 1 card 1s. Nothing else was relevant. So maybe we got to rethink Smashback Ailhorn. Maybe that card ain't good enough right now. And this one blocks 3 and has like a similar effect of playing into Go again, at least a little bit. So someone in chat saying this is great in red for Plasma Flip. That's where I don't really agree. I think it's tough. You're gonna have to just play with it, but I really think the red base is so stretched at the moment. Like there are so many more reds that I'd rather play than this, because this card is never good when you draw it, only sometimes good post consumed, and that's just not where you want your red base to be. You can pile on so many good reds in Levia right now. I just don't see this being like where you try to find a home for it. That's why I think the blue is decent. It's already doing kind of this like filler 0 cost, like burnable 3 block blue roll that the Claws deck just runs anyway. And then it actually has lines you want to use it with Blue Deadwood Rumbler. Like I do appreciate that. But I just don't see that coming out of the red. Like the reason being the red. Jeez, bro, the red strip is a tough ask these days. Wouldn't flying high be better since it's go again on any attack for just 1 less block? Well, no, because the difference is this has blood debt, right? So, well, and the 3 block is what we're talking about. So if this is banished, post consumed, this is playable. Like this can be your Plasma Fet target. And so in like a hyper late game with Claws lists, which is like the one example where I really am defending this card, because otherwise I'll give up. I won't defend this card. But in like the late game Claw scenarios where you just need to close because the decks don't really add the closing cards, they just like hope that you can keep going wide enough, this is a very easy add to make those states, those game states beneficial for you, because this blood deck keyword means whether this or the blue deadwood was banished, you have the other half to enable the other half, like somewhere in this extra intellect pool, because you just want to make blue deadwood rumbler turn on your claws to actually like close the game late. So yeah, like this is playable from consume straight up. Or if you like drew discarded a deadwood rumbler, then that's banished. And now like this is one of the blues you draw late, like, you know, same deal. You can just get the draw discard going to turn on your claws with pretty low deck building cost. The one thing I'm going to defend about this. Other stuff for Levia. Down, where are we? Close. Here we go. This card. I talked about it a little bit. Well, actually, hold up. First thing to talk about. Huge buff for Levia. If we ever run CNC, which honestly I'm pretty off of CNC, we now have a Levia CNC. This CNC, oh God, it's hot. This is a good one. If we actually run CNC in Levia, which I haven't in a while, to be honest, it like by the League of Levia rulebook, it must be this art. That's the deal. You can run any tunic you want, doesn't matter, but it has to be this CNC art. This was not a paid promotion by LSS. It's just a League of Levia rule. This card, Rockyard Rodeo, kind of what I was talking about before, in that making decisions around Hexagore in a race situation. What you would previously do is just decide to not run Hexagore, right? You would just say, oh, well, I want to swap this out. I want to be like a Meat Axe deck instead for a race situation, if most of your core is Hexagore. There is now this card, which actually puts a lot of stress on that decision point, because this in your blue base as a Hexagore deck, which you will be for, you know, probably like half the time if you're like a Meat Axe Hexagore swap deck. If this is part of your blue base that you're playing for in Hexagore, I think you can start to lean in to a lot more of 6 matters effects for the core Hexagore build. And if you do that, then swapping to Meat Axe becomes a little bit harder, because you're subtracting blue density from your 6 base, which isn't the end of the world. Maybe it's completely overblowing this, because you could just swap to like a yellow 6 in its stead. Yellow's a little bit easier to get away with, because early game you just need 1 yellow for Meat Axe to be good. But because of this card existing in Hexagore, I think you can lean into being a 6 matters Hexagore deck. And with that, some of the other cards that help you race a little bit better with Hexagore start to make more sense than giving up and becoming a Meat Axe swap list. We still don't know. We haven't tested these cards. Even myself, like I don't really play the game other than, you know, at super armories connected to callings these days. So the first time I get to play like a CC Levia game is going to be maybe in San Diego. So you all will have to let me know. But yeah, it's good. It's good, but it's not good just because it's a blue 6 that blocks 2, and you can put that in Hexagore and change nothing else about it. That's not good. You need to care about something else with your 6s, because if you just care about that it's a blue 6 that can end up in my graveyard from blocking, which is kind of like where Wrecker Romp ends up with a lot, but you actually like that because it's a block 3 anyway, this one's just not good enough. I don't actually want to put a 2-block necessarily into a Hex deck. Hex decks are all about squeezing rate, and they're going to have some bad turns, and they're going to have some amazing turns. And this card is not good enough if you only put it in there as a card that's going to end up in your graveyard from blocking 2 alone. I don't think, you know, happy to be wrong, but that's the initial take on putting that in a Hex list, I would say. Synergizes with Caucus, or however you spell it. I have no idea what you're talking about. I've missed even on the phonetics there. I don't know what that is. Technically, you can play this Hellhammer too. Yeah, okay, so there you go. That is a decent point. If your swap list is Meat Axe, or rather Hellhammer instead of Meat Axe, then yes, it will still have its text active. Which there have been some Levia lists being brewed, even with Hexagore, that lean into draw discard as your 6 payoff, which I don't think is how I would take it. But leaning into draw discard as your 6 payoff, actually, Hellhammer supports that just as well as if it was Medax, because, you kind of, it's a chain ender once, and it's quite good there. And of course, you would have to hold off because you're looking for this to last as much of the game as possible. But yeah, you could use it with Hellhammer, even in CC. Even in CC. Carcass? Good with Carcass. Is that this? The next blue attack action card you play gets go again. Oh, okay, there you go. Sure. Maybe the blue is always on the board. Because even then your blue 6 that is concentrated just due to pitch anyway can do something. Okay, I don't hate that. Yeah, because there's this whole phase of the game that's more interesting with Hexagore that definitely requires you to just play the games, but you can just turbo Blood Debt with Hexagore, get to a certain quota of these go again cards in your banish zone, because if you really count them up, it can be an insane amount. It can be Dread Screamers, it can be Horrors, it can be Ram Raiders, for example. And if you do the Levia thing, kind of churning through your opponent's blocks for enough of the first part of the game, you can just let your deck go. You can do it. Just let your deck go, and from the go again you have in your banish zone alone, guarantee that you have like X more amount of turns of throwing 12, which if your opponent is on the back foot, means full block until you lose. And so actually, this plays into the idea of at least throwing like 12, because now, even in a Hexagore list, if in this like post-consume state, you don't care about turning off Blood Debt, Deadwood or Rockyard Rodeo just become a 2-card 6, whatever, into Hexagore coming in for, in theory, 7, because you can pay into it with Rex. I don't hate it. It's a decent shout out, because now both your blue 6s are live for this. Could be. Okay. What did I have set up here? These are just the cards pulled out that I already wanted to talk about. All right, folks. Like I said, I have a time limit I need to stick to because of Woman Sant. We had a 1-hour stream scheduled, and we're looking pretty darn good for the 1-hour stream. So for the last 10 minutes of the stream, just take some questions, talk with chat, and those have been my thoughts otherwise on Sage Levia. The brewing will have to come in a bit. I play with physical cardboard, folks. I play with physical cardboard. Got to actually get to calling London, get to calling San Diego, play the games, and I will let y'all know. Theory can only go so far. What do you think Levia would need right now that a Hexagore deck is lacking? Would you like a new weapon? I don't think Hexagore as a deck is lacking at all. Like, I think that's kind of what we're proving here is Hexagore. You can play Hexagore in a way. Actually, I can pull this up. I think I have my like test deck somewhere. Maybe I don't. I might have deleted it. All right, I don't have my test deck set up, but I was practicing a like solitaire Hexagore deck where you literally play the game pretending that your opponent never attacks you. How fast can you get to Hexagore? How much damage can you throw before like you literally have like nothing left in the tank? Like, can you manage the graveyard completely by yourself if you just pretend that your opponent never attacks you? Because Hexagore is a very interesting weapon in that it's hard to know what your opponent is going to do in a Hexagore. There are some people that just have decided that, oh, it's Levia, I'm just never going to attack you. If they think their deck is like favored at all on defense, some people just straight up decide, okay, never attacking. Good luck, play the game. And if you can't play the game for long enough, then like they'll shoot with their first 5-card hand and kind of decide whether that's enough to play the game or just kind of keep in the state of, well, Levia tried to play the game, but her graveyard wasn't set up very well. Now they're going to take Blood Debt and they just kind of lose. Actually, I'll pull something up like quite relevant for you on this. There was a stream that happened this weekend of an RTN, Blood on the Bayou, an RTN where 2 Levias were X1. We had 1 Levia shown at 3-1. We had 1 Levia shown at 4-1, and they actually made top 8. freaking huge shout out. They're both in the league, by the way. But in the I wonder, what does this look like if I swap to it? I don't really have this like cropped well. All right, I'll full screen it and we'll see what that looks like. All right, good enough. In the first Levia game that we watched at 3-1, look, to be honest, a lot to be learned from this game. You want to go back and like pick apart a Levia game? This is a decent one to go back and pick apart. There's a lot of decisions that basically put the Levia in very dangerous situations. And in this type of matchup, that's just objectively what you don't want to do. You don't want to be in the danger zone by your own accord. You did that to yourself, right? If you're playing on a thin graveyard, if you're playing without a banisher in your arsenal in a do-nothing matchup like this, like that was your fault, right? So this is a very interesting game to go back and watch, to just see if I'm a Levia player and I need to cast safety nets, how would I do this a little bit differently? And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because Hexagore sometimes makes any deck look like the Pleiades deck, where they just say, okay, good luck. Like, all right, try to do your thing, Levia, because sometimes you blow up. Like this guy blows up. He blows up, he mills his entire deck in one turn, has no endgame, loses, right? So like there are some people that see Hexagore and they just decide, all right, blow yourself up. And we just don't know enough about like how do people want to play into Hexagore. If people want to play into you, then you don't need to build your entire deck to play solitaire or lose. But I was testing a Hexagore deck that was optimized for if my opponent says, good luck, do Levia things and lose. Can I never lose? Like, can I just like overcome that? That's actually hard. That is hard to say yes to. It actually is very hard to say yes to, because you can be so critically attached to blocking to fill graveyard from your opponent taking damage because they care about an attack that you're just gonna like pivot with Carrion Husk anyway, and like blah blah blah. If they never do that, like where's your value, right? So it's weird. Like we actually don't know how people want to play into Hexagore, and because we don't know how people want to play into Hexagore, we don't know exactly how to build Hexagore, because we need to be smarter than our opponents, because we really don't want to be in a position where we make Levia look like a trash deck. It's very easy to make Levia look like a trash deck and just say, well, I have no game plan. My own cards can't play the game. I just roll over and die. That's freaking terrible. But to add in all the other parts that sustain a deck that can play solitaire, they look a little bit clunky when your opponent actually does play into you. So there's like a balance really that we just don't know. We don't know about the community's approach to Levia, in all honesty. Well, good luck. It's not going to be me out there playing the Levia games in tournament to get the community on board with what to do or not to do. That's on you guys. You guys got to go out there and play, see what happens. Anyway, let's see. We do see the other Levia player at some point, Claire. So this Levia game, great game. I mean, I would go back and watch both of them. Both are great learning experiences. I'll link this in the chat. But yeah, all that to say that like you can't really just trash on Hexagore as a weapon, because the weapon isn't flawed if you just build around it with some intent. Like if you build into playing solitaire, let me tell you, that solitaire deck I was playing, oh my god, like that deck just never ran out of damage. Infinite damage. You would never lose. You would never lose that game if your opponent just said, I block. You will never lose that game. Objectively, you have this. You have 2 resources for 6 with like resource sinks all over the place, right? This actually isn't the solitaire list I was talking about, but we can look at it as an example. That's like an objective broken thing about Levia. It's not some loop where we're saying, oh, my end game is undefeatable because I can recur a Phoenix Flame, and that means I can always attack for like 3 till the end of time. Like, bro, that sucks as an end game. Like, come on, who's kidding you? Levia can literally say, no, I throw 12 for like 48 turns. That's crazy. That's crazy. You just gotta Got to build the right deck for it. Got to build the right deck for it. Claire finished top 4. Yes, that's what I'm saying. One of them got their invite. It was awesome. Awesome to see. All right. So here's an example real quick. This is not a solitaire list, but this is a list that plays into the 6 payoff from Rockyard Rodeo, just a little bit. But through not draw discard, but other like soft effects, right? Soft effects being Ram Raider. Ram Raider, if you're running Slithering Shadowpede anyway, for your Pound of Flesh. Ram Raider does say, well, if your opponent really doesn't want to play the game with you, if they want to play the game with you, you probably block with Ram Raider. This card's not that good. But if they don't want to play the game with you, then you just say, okay, 12 damage. Actually, better than that, because you can probably get 13 off of it with Gauntlets of Tyrannical Rex. But that requires drawing into more hands with not with 6s, right? You can't have like a double non-6 hand and just like hit the Ram Raider button. So like that's a soft effect of having Rockyard Rodeo in the list. Another one, Buck Wild, some early pressure in theory, a way to maybe go 3 wide with like a proper Hexagore setup. Could be like Buck Wild, like Dread, Hexagore. You can do it. You can do it. It's not like the best. It's at 1, but same deal. This is where the soft buff of a 6 matters somewhere. Energetic Impact, another soft buff on a 6. If you're going to block with a 6, maybe you're even blocking with this card, two cards blocking 6, making a Vigor, that actually scraps you back quite a bit of value, not gonna lie, because Vigor, as we talked about in Levia, amazing. We can always use it, and sometimes we can use it for broken shit, where it's Dread Screamer into Hexagore. 2 card 12. 2 card 12. Are you insane? That's nuts. Like, there's things, right? There's things like maybe Vigor is strong enough that Energetic is fine. Energetic needing the soft buff of more 6s. Of course, Rockyard being there for that. Other like slight examples in this list. I mean, like kind of smash up. This one's like debatable. But also this idea that by having an extra 6 in this like filler like blue slot is now just a 6 means I'm a little bit more confident in playing back alley break line. This could hurt even in late game where you're like, okay, I'm going to call for just an extra action point. Whoa, guys, that's 2 misses in graveyard. But there is this like soft effect of, well, I just have more 6s now, don't I? And like even this isn't going to go to your graveyard to impact that. So yeah, all of a sudden like back alley even looks slightly better. I mean, if it was looking good, you'd probably run this card anyway. I'm just talking like soft effects of what extra 6s actually mean for you. There's nothing else in this build. This was just to like discussion point, talk about like 6 energies, right? All right. Anyway, it is past 6:30. Past 6:30. So that is it for the stream. I just wanted to hop on, talk my opinions on Levia, try to get other people excited because, folks, it can't be me. I like literally cannot play tournaments. It's illegal. But I can stream them, and I can stream someone out there, by God, someone doing well with Levia in a tournament. Please, once. I think it'll be Michael Yasker. He seems to be enticed, but there's no reason we can't have, like 200 friggin' people in here all playing Levia in a tournament. Think about that. Just think about that. If half the room's Levia, one of those Levia is going to do well, I would think so. Anyway, folks, that is it. Gotta hop off. I'll see you at London, see you at San Diego, see you at everything. And yeah, till next time. Is this the right button? Yes. Woo! Step, arms, spin. What? Woo! And slide and tango. 1, 2, 1, 2. Slime.